Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel, A Daily Dose of Tammy. Let me be your inner voice. If you're new here, I'm Tammy, a licensed mental health therapist, author of Lessons from the Listening Lady, and group practice owner of a therapy life center. I'm a therapist who blends evidence-based practice tools like cognitive behavioral therapy, known as CBT, with spiritual insight to support you on your healing journey. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and every year when this time comes around, I find myself thinking about what healing is really supposed to look like. Because I think most of us have been taught to aim way too low. We've been taught that the goal is just to manage, to just cope, to just keep it together well enough to get through the week. And I want so much more than that for you. Today, I want to share something that changed the way I understand healing, both as a therapist and as someone who has done this work herself. What I've come to know is that the real healing journey is a journey of consciousness. It's about waking up to a higher version of yourself. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today. I'm walking you through my levels of consciousness framework. As we go through the levels, I really want you to be honest with yourself about where you are, because that kind of honesty is where everything begins to shift. So let's take a breath, let's get comfortable, and let's dive in. But before we get to the levels, I want to sit with something for a moment. Most people come to therapy or find their way to content like this because something hurts and they want the pain to stop. And that's a completely valid place to start. That's where it begins for most people, myself included. But what I've witnessed in my office and in my own life is that the pain is not the real problem. The pain is actually the invitation and what cracks you open just enough to start asking a bigger question. And that question is always some version of, who am I really? And what is my life actually asking of me right now? That's a consciousness question. And real healing is a consciousness journey. It's about moving from a place where life feels like it's constantly happening to you, all the way to a place where life is flowing through you and as you. This is going from surviving to truly thriving. And the bridge between those two places is your inner world and your sense of self. Your thoughts, your self-talk, the story you're running in the background of your mind every single day without even realizing it. So as we move through the levels, I want you to really listen to yourself. Notice what resonates and notice what makes you feel a little uncomfortable, because that discomfort is usually where your growth is hiding. Okay, so level 1 is surviving. At this level, life feels like it just keeps happening to you. Like you're always on the receiving end of something, and no matter what you do, the circumstances are always bigger than you are. This is what I refer to as victim consciousness. And I want to pause on that phrase because I know it can feel a bit harsh. Being in victim consciousness doesn't mean you're weak or that something is fundamentally wrong with you. It usually means you've been through something real and painful, and your nervous system learned to protect you by keeping you small and bracing for impact. The self-talk at this level sounds like, why does this always happen to me? Nothing ever changes. Other people have it so much easier than me. Life is working against me. And when that's the story playing on repeat inside your mind, that is the frequency you're broadcasting into the world. Energy is magnetic, and it pulls in more of whatever it carries. Not because you deserve hardship, but because it's simply how frequency and energy works. I had a client once who had been through something genuinely devastating, real trauma. And she looked at me one day and said, I feel like I'm just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. That is level 1. That is a nervous system so conditioned for hardship that hope starts to feel dangerous. The shift out of this level comes from learning to release blame. And I want to be clear about what that truly means, because it does not mean pretending that what happened to you was okay. It wasn't. But holding on to blame keeps you tethered to the very thing that hurt you. And the moment you decide that your past does not get to write your future, that is when level 1 starts to crack open. Level 2 is striving. And this is honestly where a huge portion of high functioning, highly driven people spend most of their lives. It's where I've lived for a very long time. At this level, you've made a decision. You are not going to be a victim anymore. You're going to take control and make things happen. You hustle, you achieve, you push through, you manage every detail you can possibly think of. And from the outside, it looks incredible. But on the inside, it is exhausting in a way that is really hard to explain to someone who hasn't lived it. The self-talk here sounds like, I have to do this myself. If I don't stay on top of everything, it will all fall apart. I'll rest when it's done, doing more, faster, better. I built a therapy life center from that place. I showed up for my clients, my family, my team, all from that place of the hustle and grind. And I genuinely believed it was strength. And some of it was, but a lot of it was fear wearing the costume of productivity. I was moving fast enough that I didn't even have to feel the difficult feelings I was experiencing. That's what the ego does at level 2. It keeps you achieving so you never have to sit quietly enough to ask whether any of it is actually aligned with your soul. Striving consciousness is fueled by control, and control at its roots is just fear with a really organized to-do list. The shift out of level 2 is loosening that grip, not abandoning your responsibilities or your goals, but starting to ask not only what do I need to do, but what does my heart actually want here? Starting to trust something beyond your own white-knuckled effort. That question alone of what does my heart actually want here, when you're finally brave enough to sit with it, can change absolutely everything. Level 3 is awakening. And this is where things start to get really beautiful. Something shifts at this level. You begin to sense that there is more going on than just you and your effort and willpower alone. Your intuition starts getting louder. You find yourself drawn to deeper questions, and you feel a pull towards something you can't quite name, but you can feel it. This is usually when people find their way into therapy or into a spiritual practice. When they pick up a book that changes something in them, when they start praying differently or journaling or meditating, something in them is searching for more. The self-talk starts to shift here too. Instead of why does this keep happening to me, you start genuinely asking, what is this here to teach me? Instead of gripping for control, you start practicing the idea that something greater is at work here and it's on your side. At first, you have to choose that thought consciously, almost like an act of will. But over time, it becomes your natural default setting. This is the awakening level because something deep inside of you is remembering. You are not just a person trying to manage your life. You are a spiritual being in a human experience. And that one shift in perspective changes the entire lens through which you see everything. The work here is releasing separation, releasing the belief that you are doing this alone, that God, source, or the universe, whatever language works for you, is somewhere far away and indifferent to your life. Awakening is the recognition that you are held, that you are connected, and that the support you've been searching for outside of yourself has been living inside of you all along. And that brings us to level 4, thriving. Psychology calls it self-actualization, and spirituality calls it enlightenment. I just call it coming home to yourself. At this level, you know who you are, not who you were told to be, not who your wounds convinced you were, but who you actually are underneath all of it. You are connected to a higher power. You are in alignment with your goals. And life isn't something you're managing or fighting anymore. It's flowing through you. You create from this place. You love from this place. You serve and show up with ease and grace and a sense of real purpose. Now, I want to be honest with you here. This is not a destination you reach once and stay at forever. Life will always pull you back down. You'll get triggered. You'll slip into old patterns. You'll have days that feel very much like level 1. The work is not in never falling. It's in knowing how to return back to the heart center. The self-talk at level 4 sounds like, I am guided. I am protected. I trust what's unfolding. I am worthy of the life I desire. I am love and I am loved. And here is what I want you to hold on to most. You were born whole. Every single one of you. The healing journey is not about becoming something new. It's about remembering what you already are underneath everything life has layered on top of you. I want to ask you something real right now, and I genuinely want you to sit with it. Where are you living most of the time? Not where you want to be, not where you think you should be, but where are you actually showing up in your day-to-day life? Here's what I know from years of sitting with people in my office. Most of us are in different levels in different areas of our lives simultaneously. You may be deep in level 3 spiritually and still sitting in level 1 in your closest relationship. You might be a level 2 powerhouse at work and completely stuck in level 1 in the way you talk to yourself when no one else is listening. And your self-talk is always the signal. So I want you to start listening to yourself this week. Not judging, just noticing. When you make a mistake, what do you say to yourself in the quiet? When something goes sideways, is your first instinct that this is happening to you? When things feel hard, do you grip harder or do you loosen your grip and trust? Those patterns in your thinking are showing you exactly where you are. And seeing that clearly with honesty and without beating yourself up, that is the beginning of everything. That is the healing journey. I want to get personal here for a second because this framework isn't something I developed from the outside looking in. This is a map I've walked myself, and I'm still walking it every day. It's a life's journey. I struggled with anxiety as a teenager. Back then, I didn't have the language for it that I have now. I just knew that something in me was always wound tight. Always bracing, always trying to manage the world around me so I could feel safe inside. That was my level 1. Life felt like something I had to survive rather than something I got to live. I was highly sensitive to other people's energy. I didn't know or understand that at the time. As I got older, I did what a lot of driven, ambitious people do. I channeled all of that anxious energy into achievement. I completed my education, I built my career, and created my business. And I became very good at doing, pushing, and making things happen through sheer effort. From the outside, it looked like I had it all together. On the inside, I was exhausted. I didn't even fully realize it, because I never slowed down long enough to truly feel it. That was my level 2, striving, hustling, controlling everything I could get my hands on because control felt like the only thing standing between me and everything falling apart. The shift in consciousness for me didn't happen all at once. It was gradual. It actually started with a yoga class I won at a fundraiser. I went not knowing what to expect. And something opened up for me in that room. I felt present in my body in a way I hadn't experienced in years. That led me to meditation and prayer, to energy work and sound healing and reading books and understanding the law of attraction and how our thoughts and our frequency shape our reality and how our beliefs create our identities. One thing led to another, and slowly over time, I started waking up to something bigger than myself. I started understanding that the anxiety I had been fighting my whole life wasn't actually my enemy. It was the signal. It was my soul trying to get my attention, telling me that something was out of alignment, that I was living for everyone else's approval instead of from my own truth. The first real shift came through forgiveness. Learning to release blame for things from my past that I had been carrying around without even fully realizing the weight of them. That was my level 1 work, and that was hard, but it was the thing that finally loosened the grip the past had on me. Releasing control has been the harder journey, honestly. That's still my edge, and I'll own that completely. I'm a take charge kind of person by nature, and letting go of outcomes, trusting a process I can't fully see, and surrendering to something greater than my own plan, that does not come naturally to me. But with conscious awareness and really intentional practice, I have learned to step back, to breathe, to ask my heart instead of just my head what I want in life, and to trust that I am guided, even when I can't see the whole picture yet. That slow, imperfect, ongoing practice of reprogramming my thoughts, connecting to my faith, is what has moved me up the levels. Not perfectly, not permanently, but genuinely. And I share all of that so you know, wherever you are right now, you are not behind. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And everything you've been through has been preparing you for what comes next. So let's talk practically. Because knowing the map is one thing, and walking it is something else entirely. The place I always start is self-talk, because your inner dialogue is a live feed of your current level of consciousness. Most of us are running thoughts on autopilot that we haven't consciously looked at in years. And when you start catching those thoughts and asking whether they're actually true, if they're even yours, questioning whether they're serving the version of you that you're trying to become, that's when you start taking your power back. From there, I want you to get specific and honest about which level you're operating from in the different areas of your life, your relationships, your work, the way you talk to yourself, your spiritual life, because the answer isn't the same across the board for most people. And then I want you to pick up one release. Just one. If you recognize yourself in level 1, your work is releasing blame, not bypassing the pain, but making the decision that your past does not get to write your future. If you're in level 2, your work is releasing control, somewhere small, trusting one outcome you can't manage, letting one thing belong to someone else. And if you're sitting in level 3, your work is releasing the feeling of separation and letting yourself actually be held by something greater than your own effort. And no matter where you are, this practice is always available to you. Now let's inhale deeply and exhale completely. Come back to your center. Come back to your heart. Your heart always knows the next right step. The mind will hand you 100 options, and half of them will be fear dressed up as logic. Your heart gives you one quiet knowing. Learn to trust that. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with this. You were born whole. Every hard thing you've been through, every painful chapter, every moment you thought you wouldn't make it, none of it broke you. It was all working to wake you up. The healing journey and the consciousness journey are the same journey, and you are already on it. The fact that you're here, that you showed up for this, that you're asking these questions, this is awakening in action. Give yourself credit for that. This Mental Health Awareness Month, I want you to give yourself permission to want more than just feeling okay. You are here to thrive. You are here to remember who you are, and I am so honored to be a part of this journey with you. Drop a comment and tell me which level you're sitting in right now. I genuinely want to hear from you. Share this with someone who needs a bigger picture of what healing can look like. And if this resonated, like it, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, beautiful people, stay grounded, stay conscious, and remember, you got this.